Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jay Stevens Podcast. This is episode number 138, dedicated to a man who on September 28th, 1960, hit his 521st home run, Mr. Ted Williams. And as always, thank you for listening and downloading to another episode of the podcast. On today's episode, we talk a little bit about a team that is making its 32nd trip in franchise history to the NBA Finals. Did you know that the Major League Baseball playoffs start this week? And there's something different that's going to be at every high school basketball game in Kentucky, and it'll take place before the game even happens. But first, this past weekend of college football, watching all those games all day long was very, very enjoyable. And some people have decided to opt out of the season. Previously, about a month or two ago, they have decided to opt in and play. Yes, the MAC, the Pac-12, and the Mountain West, all those conferences that at one time opted out, just like so many players did, they have ultimately opted back in, just like some of those players. It's very, very interesting when you think about the dynamic and what's happened this year, not just in college football, not just in our lives, but all over the world. It's very, very odd and strange. The ups and downs, the roller coasters of emotions, the roller coasters of decisions that have taken place. And ultimately, it leads us to points like this. You get faulty documents, a faulty report that is put in front of you, and it scares you to the point, the Pac-12 that is, that had decided previously to not play any sports, any collegiate sports, until January 1st of next year. Now, you go back a few months ago, and I know it's been a lot that's happened this year, so bear with me. If you go back a few months ago, maybe to the summer now, maybe longer than a few months, I remember the governor of California said there would be no large gatherings, no nothing happening in this state until blank of next year, which was next year, not this year. All of a sudden, Larry Scott, the commissioner of the Pac-12, talks to the governor of California. His name escapes me. I think it's Gavin Newsom. I could be wrong. But he talks to the governor of California. Lo and behold, the governor says, I never restricted you from playing. I'm thinking, hold on now. You waited all this time to have a conversation with the man, and all of a sudden he says, I never restricted you from playing. Now, that could have been the governor backtracking and saying so many places around the country that are progressing and that are moving forward with precautions and with COVID-19 health and safety protocols that are allowing them to get back to a more normal life than what they were currently at. And I do believe all these governors at some point will go back to life like it previously was. I mean, pre-mask, pre-virus, all of that stuff. I do believe mass gatherings will happen again. Masks will not be required, at least from the local aspect, where they're going to require it all the time. I do believe that'll come. Not sure how soon, but I don't believe the governors want to continue this their entire tenure, or want this to go on any longer than it has to. But the Pac-12 has decided to opt back in the season. They will play a 7-game regular season schedule plus 1 conference game. I say plus 1 because it's 7 plus 1. Technically, every school is going to play 8 conference games this year, very similar to the Big Ten model, where the Big Ten is playing 8 plus 1, 8 regular season games, and then championship weekend. Normally, it's champion week, where you're going to have you're going to have the East 1 versus West 1 will be in the Big Ten championship, and then East 2 versus West 2, East 3 versus West 3, so on and so forth. That model will be the same thing that takes place in the Pac-12, 7 regular season plus 1 game, December 18th, where everyone's playing the opposite corresponding side of their conference. The MAC Conference, Mid-American Conference. We all love MACtion, midweek football, and as they have said, they'll probably play all of their games, or the majority of their games will be midweek games, so they could dominate that space as well. A 6-game regular season plus 1 title game. I don't believe they're doing the Champions Week where it's 1 from the East and 1 from the West, back and forth, where you're playing with the corresponding spot of the opposite division in your conference. And then the Mountain West is doing an 8-game schedule. That's going to start on October 24th. Very interesting dynamic I think is going on here. So the Pac-12, the MAC, and the Mountain West, they all announced that they're playing. They all came out with their announcement that they'll play. The announcement came around the same time, I believe within 48 to 72 hours of each other. Well, Pac-12 is playing 7 plus 1, now starting until November the 6th. The MAC is playing 6 plus 1 for the title games. I believe just 6 for everybody else starting November 4th. And then you have the Mountain West, who came out at the same time, playing an 8-game schedule, starting the same weekend as the Big Ten. And the Big Ten announcement came, I believe, the week prior. So I'm really curious as to why the Pac-12 and why the MAC are waiting so long to go ahead and do the resuming of the season and playing football. And the Mountain West is like, okay, look, we want to get as many games in as we can, and we believe with the health and safety and the doctors and the expertise that we talk to and that we use their advice and guidance from, they say we can do it right now. Not sure why the delay. I don't really care about the delay. We're getting more football. We're getting a lot more football. Now, I would love for JUCO and D3 and D2 and D1AA or FCS. I would love for all those conferences to play as well, but I know that's not the way the cookie is crumbled right now. As of right now, I believe there are 117 out of 120 Division 1A or FBS level schools that are playing. It's great. It's enjoyable to seeing more people opt back into the season and not staying in the opt-out mode during the 2020 college football season. Let's go ahead and take a trip to Orlando, Florida, back down there to the Orlando bubble, because there's a team by the name of the Los Angeles Lakers that are making their 32nd trip to the NBA Finals. From the days of George Mikan in Minneapolis all the way through today, where LeBron James is leading the team in LA, the Lakers are making another trip to the NBA Finals, the 32nd in the history of the franchise. And if you may want to be someone that is specific, that says, oh, no, it's the Los Angeles Lakers, not Minneapolis, not so fast, my friend. We have to go through the totality of the history and the existence of this franchise, because dating all the way back until 1947, when this team was founded, all the way through now, this team finds a way to constantly have a star, multiple stars on their team that mesh and gel so well together that ultimately it's almost a foregone conclusion that they'll make it to the finals. And that's exactly what we have this year. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, a duo, a tandem that we all knew would be amazing to watch. We all knew that if they were paired with the right pieces, would be able to push each other, not just one or the other, push each other and propel and help the others make it to the finals. And that is exactly what they did. Now, it wasn't something that came without any obstacles. It didn't come with no hesitation. It didn't come with any pushback. But despite what they have gone through, despite what they have witnessed and what they have experienced this year alone, from the beginning of the season, where before the season it was, and in the Western Conference Finals, it's almost a foregone conclusion. It's going to be the Lakers and the Clippers. You could almost pencil it down, write it down, put it in pen, not pencil, so that you can erase that thing. Nope. Put it right there in pen. Throw the white out to way. You don't need it, because it's going to be the Lakers and the Clippers in the NBA Finals. And that's been the same way for so many years. I say George Mikan, because I went all the way back to Minneapolis. The time that they were there in 1947, when the Lakers were founded there in Minneapolis, it sure seemed like shortly after that, when George Mikan was just dominating the NBA and leading the Lakers to champions, you would think, oh, that's going to be it. That's all they'll do. George Mikan leaves, and then someone else comes in, and they're not as good. That's not the case. You have so many guys up and down the history of this franchise that have just been killers, that have just been dogs, to the tune of these individuals having their numbers retired by the Lakers. And when I say their name, you'll say, oh, yeah, they were that dude. These are the numbers that have been retired by the Los Angeles Lakers. Kobe Bryant, of course, number 8, also had number 24 retired. Wilt Chamberlain played for the Lakers from 68 to 73. Elgin Baylor played for the Lakers from 58 to 71. And everything I have heard about Elgin Baylor is saying that he was way ahead of his time, and that it is not given the respect or the due, the attention that he is due, because of, the time that he played in. TVs and broadcasting games wasn't all that. And even when you go back to the YouTube, I have done this to try to find out more about Elgin Baylor and his playing style. It's not like you can go there and find full games and just go in there and enjoy his playing style. You just can't do that. But Elgin Baylor, a guy that I would have loved to watch when he was playing. Other Laker greats that have had their numbers retired. Gail Goodrich from 65 to 68 played for the Lakers. He came back for another tenure from 70 to 76. Magic Johnson, we all know what he did from 79 to 91. And then he came back for a little stint in 96. Oh, might I add, you may not know this, Magic Johnson was a coach of the Lakers for a literal cup of coffee. 16 games, he got that man up out the paint because he was that bad as a head coach. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, big man for the Lakers, 75 to 89. Shaquille O'Neal, 96 to 04. James Worthy, Jerry West, and Jamal Wilkes. So many Laker greats, and those are just the ones that have had their numbers retired. You can go back through the list of Lakers and just talk about so many guys, so many great players that the Lakers franchise has had there with them. And it's like, oh, we'll get this player. Oh, we'll get that player. Oh, you like Phil Jackson, Ron Harper, will bring you over. Glenn Rice, you want a ring? Big Shot Bob, you want a ring? Let's go. And not every person on the Lakers that I'm mentioning right now is an all-timer. It's a guy that you're going to say, oh, that's the first ballot Hall of Famer, or he'll get into the Hall of Fame in about 5 to 10 years after he is eligible. That's not the case. The Lakers have found a good way to find great players. You need great players to win. This isn't anything new. I'm not saying anything that's not crazy. You need, excuse me, I'm not saying anything that's crazy. That's not crazy. That's the wrong word. I'm not saying anything that's crazy. You need great players to win. That's the mode. That's why we play. You play to win the game. I believe that's a Herm Edwards statement from a press conference. You play to win the game. Not bringing in the sound. You could hear his voice as I'm saying it. You play to win the game. That's what you do. But to win the game, to get further, and to be at the level that this franchise is at, that is well respected. If you think about NBA franchises that are well respected, that are dominant, that win a lot of championships, you think of two teams, their rivals on opposite sides of the country, the Los Angeles Lakers as well as the Boston Celtics. Two teams that ran the 80s, and anytime they meet in the finals, it brings up old memories, bad blood, and it's one matchup that you don't want to miss. We're not getting that this year, but you do get LeBron going up against his former team. And let me tell you, I think Jimmy Butler is a guy, as Paul Pierce says, that people nowadays are scared of LeBron. Paul Pierce, I don't think Jimmy Butler is scared of LeBron. Now, I'm not saying Jimmy Butler can stop LeBron, slow LeBron down. I am not saying any of that. But I do believe Jimmy B is not a guy that when he looks at LeBron, he is scared and backs down and goes away from the challenge. The Lakers have had great players. Lakers have also had great coaches. Pat Riley, Phil Jackson. We can go back in history off the top of my head. I can't think of the ones that were there in the 60s, 70s. Pat Riley was there in the 80s. You get Frank Vogel now. So imagine this. Let's think about this scenario that we have now. LeBron James and Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel was knocked out of the playoffs 3 years straight by LeBron James when LeBron was in Miami. Now, lo and behold, Frank Vogel is the coach of the Lakers, and he's coaching LeBron into the finals. Going up against the team, the Heat, Pat Riley, even though Pat Riley's not the head coach, Pat Riley is still there in the front office, and even in the on-court interview that Rachel Nichols did with Jimmy Butler after the game, Jimmy Butler referred to Pat Riley as Coach Riley. I have been one that's under the belief, now this is no factual basis or factual data, it's just something that I believe. Don't take it as Jay has sources and Jay believes this. I would just say, I certainly believe there are times during practice, there are times maybe during the game, maybe Pat Riley goes down to the locker room at halftime. I do firmly believe that Pat Riley is still somewhat of a coach of this team. Now, I will say he doesn't have the same role as a Spoelstra, but trust me, man. You've been around ball for that long. You've been playing in the NBA. You've been a coach in the NBA, been an executive in the NBA for as long as you have. You have been an NBA lifer. Trust me, bruh. Pat Riley, he gonna find a way to get his 2 cents in there. I mean, it's a Pat Riley culture. We don't talk about the Spoelstra culture. The Pat Riley culture. That's what we're experiencing. And I do know that it's a great thing to think about. Wow, Pat Riley is there, NBA lifer. So many people that LeBron James went to battle with when he was down in Miami. He's going up against him now in the finals. Udonis Haslem, a guy that was a focal point and a key piece to those Miami Heat championship runs. Those 4 years that LeBron was in Miami, UD is still there. Now, UD's not really going to play. UD is not going to be someone that's going to be like, okay, this LeBron move, here's how you stop it. This LeBron move, this how. Now, he may say some of that, but LeBron has gotten so much better the older that he's got, just like the great players do. I mean, one great thing about Michael Jordan that I think is overlooked, Michael Jordan's game evolved and transformed the older he got. Michael Jordan's game, the last three-peat, was not Michael Jordan's game during the first three-peat or even in the late 80s when he started to take over the NBA as the best player in the association. The year 87-88 where I believe he won the dunk contest, he won the league MVP, All-Star Game MVP, I believe he won D Player of the Year as well. That Michael Jordan, the older he got, he couldn't be that Mike at all. And we're seeing with LeBron the progression and how he keeps getting better and better and better. He's not the same player that he once was, but he is still improving and being a better basketball player today than he was last year or the year before that or the year before that. So many different storylines. I'm not going through all of them, but I do find it interesting that in the Lakers' 32nd trip to the NBA Finals, it's LeBron going up against his former team. It's Vogel coaching a guy that he couldn't get past for 3 years straight, and now they're on the same team. It's Vogel going up against a team and the coach and exec. I say exec because, like I said earlier, I still believe Pat Riley's imprint and hands are all over the coaching style of Eric Spoelstra. Might I add you, there's a reason why Pat Riley made Spo the coach in the late 2000s. Want to know why? Because Pat Riley wanted a guy to be the head coach that was a split image or resemblance of him. Maybe not all in all the same way, because Spoelstra comes with analytics and a new style and all of those things. I don't think Pat Riley would run a zone. But there's a zone that's being ran right now with Spoelstra that looks so good when they run it. So much going on with this Lakers run. But I think the one thing that sticks out to me is literally the 32. My lifetime, there have been teams from all sports that win, but don't win like this. There are teams that have ups, that have downs. Clippers, they have a lot of downs. When they go up, they don't come as high as the Lakers do. Why? Because it's very, 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 very difficult to do that very thing. I mean, my goodness, we saw the Lakers. Their owner passed away. Dr. Buss. Family came in. Jeannie and her brother had a feud, had a little back and forth, a little disagreement. Lakers weren't so hot at that point in time. What happened? The Lakers got back on track. The Lakers found a way to get back on track, and now they're back in the NBA Finals. Despite everything that has gone on, we do find that the Lakers, time and time and time again, have found themselves on the right side of the outcome at the end of the Western Conference Finals to get to the NBA Finals. I will say this one thing. It would be nice. Not saying that I'm rooting for this guy. I'm a Pacers fan, as you guys know. I talk about the Pacers every now and then. He knocked my Pacers out of the playoffs numerous times, 3 times with the Heat when he went on to the NBA Finals, and in the Cavs. I don't want to think about how many times that the Cavs and LeBron knocked the Pacers out of the finals. I know Bobani Jones says that he's gotten off that narcotic when talking about him being one time an Atlanta Falcons fan. Hey, look, the Pacers, They let me down time and time and time again. But I'm not getting off this train because at some point I do believe, I don't know when, but I believe that before I pass away, hopefully it's a long time from now, before I pass away, the Pacers will find a way to win an NBA championship. It may have to come after LeBron is out of the league, and that'll be A-okay with me. Why? Because my team won a championship. Just like the Cleveland Cavaliers and those fans waited all those years to win a title, just like the Bay, the Golden State Warriors and those fans waited all that time, just like, hopefully don't wait this long. Hopefully, I know we won't, because the Pacers haven't been around this long. They also won an ABA championship. But just like the Cubs went all those years till they won one. The Red Sox went all those years till they won a championship. I do believe it may be a long time, but sometime in my lifetime, I do believe the Pacers will bring that Larry O.B. back to Indianapolis. And let me tell you, y'all, I'm not a big parade guy, but your boy might find a way to get down to that parade. Hey, boss, I'm not working today. Why? I got a parade to go to. Jay, you are man. Men don't go to parades. You go to parades when your team wins the NBA title. I will be there. Yes, I will. I will find a way to get there and enjoy that time period. But one thing I think is going to be on the mind of not just LeBron, Anthony Davis, so many other players. Let me tell you something real quick. One thing I'm going to say this. I was listening to a podcast recently, and it kind of resembled the same thing. People talking about Alex Caruso being a star in the league. Alex Caruso is a good basketball player. That brother that man ain't no star. No. He's a good basketball player. He's a role player that's playing his role very well. Ain't nobody in the right mind going to say Caruso is a star in this league. Have we really gone that far about being able to analyze play and analyze basketball players the proper way, where everything is hyperbole? Oh, he's a star. What do you mean? A star? He ain't done nothing. No, he's a good role player. He's good at what he does. He ain't no. Putting people in star roles too early, prematurely, or when they don't deserve it, it's not good for you. It's not good for the player, because that's how people get big heads. But I had to get it off my chest. But back to the original scheduled programming. LeBron James, AD, Frank Vogel, everyone in the Lakers organization is going to remember what happened in late January when, unfortunately, Kobe Bryant and Gigi lost their lives in a helicopter accident. And if we see more of what we saw, where they were wearing their Kobe Bryant Black Mamba jerseys, and I don't believe they lost in those jerseys in the playoffs, if they continue to wear those and find the inspiration, and LeBron tries to have a Kobe moment, can't nobody really have a Kobe moment. You could try. There's only one Kobe. But if they do that and find inspiration, the motivation by wearing those jerseys to help them propel them and push them to win this NBA championship, that could be exactly what is needed for them to find a motivation. We all are trying to find a motivation from something to help us push forward, to help us get better. Maybe, just maybe, that's the motivation, saying we're doing this for Kobe, is what the Lakers need to win the finals. Now, the Heat, Spoelstra, might I add you. Here's a little nugget about Spoelstra I'll close this segment out with. Eric Spoelstra, when it comes to coaches that have made the most appearances in the NBA Finals, of course, Phil is number one with 13. Red Auerbach is number 2 with 11. Pat Riley is number 3 with 9 trips. Johnny Kundla, I never even heard of him. Number 4 with 6. Eric Spoelstra is currently tied in 6th place with 5 trips to the NBA Finals. That spans from 2011 until now. This may be what is needed for Spo to get more attention and more respect around the NBA circles. I know he gets a lot of attention. I love Spo as a coach. I think this is just going to allow him to get more attention. But as well, imagine the old coach going up, the former coach, LeBron's former coach, going up against LeBron. Pat Riley being up top, coaching against LeBron. I want to keep saying Pat Riley's the coach, because I truly believe it. Going up against LeBron. Just imagine the chess battles and the chess match and all the things they're drawing up in their rooms as we speak about how to slow down or guard or make LeBron not be the efficient player that he is. That's the matchup I'm looking to see. I'm waiting to see, because I know how good a coach Spoelstra is, and I know that Spoelstra is not trying to lose this matchup when he's going up against a guy that he used to coach. Before we begin talking about the Major League Baseball playoffs and the bubble format that they have set up for this season, we have a word from Plutus Sports Analytics. Plutus Sports Analytics is a company based on minimizing the uncertainty in sports betting to help you maximize your profit. New Finland's first sports analytics team provides daily predictions for all Major League sports, so you can win big. Whether you want to hit MLB picks out of the park or get a slam dunk on your NBA betting tickets, Plutus is a company of choice. Head to PlutusSportsAnalytics.com. That is PLUTUS Sportsanalytics.com. Use code JSP10 for 10% off their deadly service. When Major League Baseball decided to have a 60-game season, the phrase sprint, the season will be a sprint, this year will feel like a quick race, was echoed and was given out by so many people, myself included. But one thing I will tell you is that when I stated it, or when other individuals like Jeff Passan stated it, or Ken Rosenthal stated that very thing in their own specific way, I don't think anybody truly understood what we would experience, what would happen, how fast that season would go. Because, guys, it seemed like it started, and then overnight, that thing ended very, very quickly. You all know how it is when you have a new occurrence, you have something new experience, something new going on. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how you're going to feel. You don't know the emotions that are going to take place during said event. You don't know any of that. And that's the same way it was right now when it comes to the Major League Baseball season. Now, also, when you think about COVID, you think about restrictions being shut down, you're reopening, we got to wear a mask, or we not to wear a mask, can we go to games, can we not go to games, speaking as a sports fan, all those things that are going on, working jobs, a lot of people have lost jobs lately, some have gotten jobs again, some have lost jobs. There's a lot going on, people getting married, unfortunately, relationships are being ended, some people are trying to work things out. I mean, we have literally a lot going on. And when you have all that stuff going on at once in your personal life, when you try to focus on sports, sometimes when you focus on sports, it doesn't go over as planned, and you can't focus on it as much as you would like to, and things go very, very, very fast. It seems like the NBA playoffs went fast, and all of a sudden it slowed all the way down right now to where it currently is in its current state before we start the NBA Finals very, very shortly. Well, the Major League Baseball season is over. The playoffs start Tuesday, tomorrow, very, very shortly. Very soon we'll get baseball on these odd channels, USA, TBS, channels we don't even utilize anymore. I remember as a kid, NBA used to be on TNT and TBS. Turner broadcast games on both stations. Now it's just TNT. During the tournament, NCAA tournament, we'll get some college games on TBS. But the NBA, I can't remember the last time we saw an NBA game on TBS. I know it was odd a couple weeks ago. Notre Dame played somebody and they played on USA. When in the world has Notre Dame played on USA? I have never, ever in my life known a Notre Dame game to be played on the USA channel, but that's the way the cookie crumbled right now this season for that particular game. One thing specific about this MLB season, well, a couple of them. One, I'm sure you may already know, there were 8 playoff teams per conference, per league, that'll be in the playoffs this year. The AL and the NL, you have 8 teams for both conferences, kind of a changing things up for this abnormal season. They said, well, since we're playing less games, let's add more people to the playoffs. Normally, if you do less, you have less down the road. But Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, trying to make peace with everybody. We took forever to come up with our decision. Let's go ahead and make more people and allow for more people to come into the playoffs to have a chance to win the World Series in October. Also, something different about this season that I do believe people thought they should have done down the road. A lot less people think this is the move right now, but this is the way that Major League Baseball believes they will move forward and finish the baseball season. There will be a bubble. Now, we all think about the amount of people that are in a baseball organization, the amount of players, first off, that are on a team. Then you have the managers, the coaches, team personnel, medical team, all of that stuff. When you think about a bubble, you're thinking, Jay, are they going to have the AL and NL in 2 separate bubbles? Are they going to do like a hockey aspect where the hockey players, they had Edmonton, and then they also had hockey games in Toronto? I know the Stanley Cup Finals are going on right now. I believe those resume tonight on Monday, and I will be watching that, guys. I know there's football on tonight, but I'm trying to watch some hockey. I know there was an overtime game on Saturday. I know there was college football on, there was NBA on, there was so much stuff going. There was a double overtime Stanley Cup Finals game between the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I believe the Dallas Stars won that game, so it's 3-2, game 6. I forget if it's tonight or tomorrow, but I believe it's tonight. Jay will be watching the hockey. Not the biggest hockey fan, but hockey is very, very, very fun and enjoyable to watch. But the bubble for baseball goes as follows. The first round, where there's 8 teams in each round, normally it's the quarterfinal round, as you call it in the NBA. Right now, this year, it's going to be called the wild card round in Major League Baseball. Those games will be played at the higher seeds stadium, and then all 3 games will be played at said stadium. So there will be no travel at all. I'm looking at one matchup right now. The Cubs and Brewers. There's not much driving between those two or travel at all. The Cubs are the higher seed. So Cubs and Marlins, excuse me. The Cubs are the higher seed, so the Cubs will host all 3 games. Best of 3 series in the wild card. If it goes that round, all of those games will be at Wrigley Field. You have Braves and Reds. Another matchup in the NL. In the AL, you have the A's and White Sox. One matchup. Indians and Yankees. One matchup. Tampa Bay Rays and Toronto Blue Jays in one matchup. So all those games, Toronto will be home, Indians will be home, the A's will be home, Cubs will be home, Braves, the higher seed will be home during that matchup. In the divisional round, the semifinal round, if you want to call it that, the very next round, second round, those games will be played at neutral sites. You have Arlington, Texas will host one. Houston, Texas will host one. In the NL, in the AL, those sites will be San Diego and LA. All places that have beautiful weather. The NLCS, which is presented by Camping World, is at Arlington, and then also the ALCS presented by Geico. This is right on the graphic that I have right in front of me. Those will be played in San Diego, and then Arlington, Texas. I believe that's the home of the Texas Rangers. That will be the home of the 2020 World Series down there in Arlington, Texas. Fun way to end the season. A bubble aspect with the virus, I didn't think it was going to be possible during the regular season. I am seeing now how they're whittling teams out of the way to do what they're doing now. Hey, if you want to play in a way that nobody gets the virus and to restrict how many people can possibly get the virus, go this route. I also know baseball players. I also know that if you just played at home stadiums and that was it, and allows the fans to go in, they would be A-okay with that. Because let me tell you, if you're any NBA, Major League Baseball, whatever it is, I know soccer have fans at games as well. If you're watching hockey, if you're watching the NFL, and you're saying, hold on. So the NFL, dome or not, they're allowing fans in the stands, and we're not. This stadium is huge. A lot of baseball stadiums seat 40,000 plus fans. If you mean to tell me you can't put 20,000 in there? Yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions, but Major League Baseball has gone this route. I think what they have done with the plan they put in place. Oh, also the NLDS or the divisional round, second round, that'll be a best of 5. So it goes best of 3, best of 5, best of 7 for the format of the playoffs this year. I think this format that they have, I think is going to work. I do. I think the plan to be nobody getting the virus at all, and testing protocols, health and safety protocols that they have set into place, I do think this will work. I don't think it's needed, but I think their plan in place, that's put in place, is a good one for what they are trying to accomplish. Something else that is trying to be accomplished at a level that everybody listening to me may have played it or may have enjoyed while they're at this level, which is high school basketball. We all are trying to accomplish something right now with the virus. Limit it, don't get it in some way. We all do our own thing to try to restrict the possibility of us getting it. Some of us, like myself, wash our hands normally. It's kind of alarming and sad and shocking and eerie that right now you have to put all over the place, wash your hands. We are people that are listening to this. Most of you listening to this are old enough to know what washing your hands means, how to do it, how to properly wash your hands, how to sing the song, ABC, Happy Birthday, whatever song you want to sing, to do all that to properly wash your hands. It's very, very odd. It should be odd to you as well, that during this time period, all over the place, you have to remind people to wash their hands. Isn't that elementary? I mean, I thought it was. I mean, kids know how to wash their hands. I mean, kids know before you eat, wash your hands. It's common sense, I thought, but hey, I'm just Jay. I'm just the guy behind the mic. I don't know anything. Guys, wash your hands. Those signs, we shouldn't need that around to tell people what to do, to how to stay clean, all that kind of stuff. Wash your hands. Use soap. Use water. And do all of the stuff that you are supposed to be doing that you did as a kid. Hopefully you still do it as an adult. If you're at that level, just wash your hands. Just do it. It's elementary. Sorry. It's a lot of stuff going on right now that's in my head that I could go on and on and on about. But this one right here, it irks me. Just wash your hands. It's not that hard. Speaking of people like I talked about earlier, people that are trying to accomplish something with the virus, that is the people down in Kentucky. Kentucky high school basketball will be started different this year than I believe any game has been started at the level that is Kentucky high school basketball. We all know at the beginning of a high school basketball game, or any basketball game for that matter, there is a tip, there is a jump ball. You get people at center court, the away team has somebody, the home team has somebody, go to the center court, referee throws the ball up, you jump, you tip the ball. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Now, when you think of a jump ball and a tip, there's really no contact. There may be a little bump, but there's not much contact. We're thinking about the passing of something or me spitting on somebody or sweat. Then you may pass sweat from arm to arm, but that's it. But you're not going to be sitting here, let me spit on you and let me spit on you and let me pass this to you, let me cough on you. Those are things that aren't going on during a jump ball in a basketball game. You're playing basketball. You're trying to tip the ball, jump for the ball to get to game possession on the opening tip of the game. There's more physical play when it goes on to defense, when it goes on to banging in the block and getting physical and picks that are set. All that stuff is more physical, more contact than the jump ball. But Kentucky high school basketball, when it comes to the Rona, as I'm calling it, now I know the Rona is more popular. I know you and I have probably gotten the Rona this year, not COVID-19. The Rona, you may have gotten the Rona. You may have gotten the Rona every single year and just not known it. Why? Because, we don't know about this stuff. We don't search this stuff until it comes up. The Rona is not as bad as what you may think. COVID-19, stay away from me. Stay away from me. But one thing that's going on in Kentucky high school basketball, they're going to start every single game with a coin flip. Yes, you heard that correctly. A coin flip. They're going to bring the players to the scores table and do a coin flip. Kind of like they do for a football game. Coin flip. But the coin flip there decides who gets the ball first and kicks. There's still a kick. In a coin flip, in the NFL, you flip the coin and somebody kicks off, and lo and behold, you can still score on that. No. We're removing the tip ball. We are removing the jump ball from high school basketball because of the Rona. Where's the logic? Where is the logic? Now, I can see if this thing was as deadly as advertised, which I don't think advertisement of this was really, really off and crazy, and which could be why the Pac-12 did what they did as far as saying nothing until January. If COVID-19 was advertised, and if you got it, you're going to many people thought if you got it, you're going to the hospital, you may be put on a ventilator, all this stuff. If COVID-19 was as advertised, you would not find Jay on this podcast saying, no, play sports, continue with sports, continue with your life, all that kind of stuff. No. You want to see Jay do that? No. If this thing was as advertised and it was as lethal, as potent as it was, saying if you got it, there are going to be harsh effects from it. Hey, you would not see Jay do nothing. Jay would try and find a way to get somebody to get his groceries for him and say, hey, make sure you find a way to clean that stuff for me, because I ain't trying to get what you got. I don't know who you been around. I don't know none of that stuff. So make sure you wipe it down and spray it down, all that stuff, because I don't want that virus in my apartment. But it's not as advertised. Nowhere close. It's still out there. People are still going to get it. I know elderly people that aren't in good health that recently got it. I got family members. A family member, my cousin, that just got out of the hospital with the Rona. It's not as advertised. Scary, yes. COVID-19, scary. But it's nowhere near being as advertised. We're also testing people. One, testing people that aren't sick. We're forcing people to get tested. Yeah, I know somebody in school that got tested 3 times within a week and a half in a college. Randomly. Okay, yeah, randomly. So it's not as advertised. And I would be the first one to tell you, if it was bad, don't play. Don't do it. But eliminating the coin flip seems very, 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 very odd to me. Very odd. There's more physical play. If you're trying to eliminate physical play, banging in the block and picks that take place during a game, more physical than a jump ball. If you're trying to eliminate the passing of a virus, in that aspect, there's more physical play. That's easier. It can be contracted in a different way in the block, banging in the block versus a jump ball. So there's so many things that eliminating the jump ball isn't really wise, but then again, it's Kentucky high school basketball. That's Kentucky. That's how they do things. A little bit scared, a little bit off, a little bit weird. Kentucky, you do you. Indiana, we'll do us. Kentucky high school basketball, Indiana high school basketball have an all-star game that they play every single year. I'm going to go to that game next year. It was canceled this year. It'll be at Southport High School, and I will be there. 7,500 seat gym. Be there. Sitting in my seat, enjoying it, and waiting for Indiana to destroy Kentucky in basketball. Why? Because that is what we do at the level. Now, if you say, Jay, Kentucky Wildcats beat Indiana University in basketball. Well, the last time those two schools met, IU won, and well, there's a reason why John Calipari does not want to do a home and home or even a neutral site with Indiana anymore. He has the better talent, but why is he scared to come to Assembly Hall and play again? I'm not sure. We've seen the outcomes. We can formulate our own opinions. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Jay Stevens Podcast. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. If you're not on Twitter and you would love to connect with the podcast, send your emails to jstevenspod@gmail.com. Remember to always subscribe, rate, and review. It's a great way for people that are searching for a new podcast to listen to come across this one. Then remember to always get the word out about the podcast via word of mouth. The things that we enjoy in life, we are more willing and somewhat wired to tell other people about. So no matter if this was your first episode or if you have been listening since episode number 1, be sure to let people know about the podcast. This has been episode 138 of the Jay Stevens Podcast. I'll see you next time.